Hi, I'm RC Jim, and here we've got just a rather quick video for you on showing how we got the engine installed and the cowl in place, things lined up with the right set of offset, and a few tricky little bits in there, but all pretty straightforward. So just have a watch and see how it went. Well, we're getting ready to get the nose cone onto the P-51, and as we do so, we've got that firewall. You can see the end of it there, and I've marked out roughly the thickness. It's actually a tiny bit wider than that, but we're quite safe within that range there of putting in a screw. And hopefully what will happen is you don't have any screw holes opened up on this side. Got some places where there used to be ones, but we still have the original screw holes on that side. So what I'm figuring on doing is most likely we'll get these screws in to go into the firewall, and then we will see what sort of angle it needs to be on to suit the engine, and then we'll put the other ones in. But I'm actually not even going to put these in until I've really confirmed where it needs to go. This is one of those things where you can very easily come up with all kinds of holes in your plane as you try to get it lined up and whatever. So I'm going to start out with mounting the engine. I get the set of angle on it that I think it needs to have. Then I'm going to trial fit this to see how it goes on with the engine, and then we will see whether or not these holes are going to suit, and then we'll drill holes on the other side. So that's the plan. Well, we've got pylons that we're going to use to attached to the motor, so they're going to go on there first. From the pylon, it'll come onto this wood block, and then the wood block is going to get attached onto here, like so. I've marked out where the center of the motor is supposed to be. I've also got, actually that's just simply where that curve is. I'm going to mark a new mark on here, which is the center between where the holes are supposed to be, so they'll be able to line up the two by sighting straight down it. And then, while I've already marked out the holes on here, I've checked that the old bracket that they used on this has the same hole centers as the ones on the motor. And I'm going to use that as a drilling template. I'm going to use a drill that's the same size as that. Get it all lined up, and then just give it a little touch on each of those to mark the center of the holes, and then I'll drill it with the 5mm drill so that I can put my M5 bolts in there. They will come in through the back, up through the timber, and into the motor mount. So that's what we're going to do. Realizing that when I had marked the holes on there and where I marked this radius, they're a bit approximate, I decided to get out my square and make sure everything is square, and then double check all of the measurements. It's basically 40.5 millimeters on the centers, and so I make sure I got 40.5 each way, and everything's squared up. That's dead in the center as far as the line that way and that way, and it doesn't hurt to try and be a bit precise. You know, it'll vary a little bit from that when you actually do the drilling and whatever, but you might as well start out with it spot on. So I'm going to drill the holes. I'll then be able to mount the engine. After I got these holes drilled, I'll line that up, drill through the firewall, and then with those holes all in place, I'll then put in the bolts and mount the engine, and then we'll see how the cowl fits over that. I've decided to modify my technique slightly in lining this up. I've taken the drill press and I've carefully drilled the first hole right on the crosshairs. I'm then going to put a screw in there, get that to hold in place, and with that held in place, these are also 5mm holes already on each of those. With it held in place, I'll then drill the other ones to get that really nice and precise. What do you reckon? Now, at the risk of you guys thinking I've really gone crazy on the precision thing, first off, I've taken this and I've, can you see that there? I've marked the inside of it where the lines are, okay? And then taking it on here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to line that up the very best that I can with all of the lines involved. And having those straight lines is really going to help. And then I'm going to take some zap, and I'm going to actually glue it on there, and then I'm going to drill the holes. Okay, with the block in place, let's drill some holes. Getting these bolts in is easier said than done. Got that one in, put a nut on it so I don't lose it. And I guess I better check to make sure that that is going to have enough. Yeah, looks like it's going to be okay to thread under that. But anyway, that one I just kind of balanced it and poked all over the place trying to get it in there. And basically had to do it such that I was going up with it, with this thing pointed up in the air. So my thought is if I can just kind of tape the washer on there, and I've got sort of extra big washers to provide a little bit more support on the firewall, which means they don't stay on quite so easy. But if I can just kind of tape that on there and then pull the tape out afterwards, that holds it all together for me, keeps it somewhat straight, and thread it through here. Miss that. Get down where I can see where we're going. And there it goes. Well, I verified that I got enough thread to be able to get that on there. So now what I'm going to do is use a bit of thread locker. Just don't like things coming apart when we're flying, especially motors. Just a drip on there. And then we'll put this on. And do that with each of them. And now for the motor. Now this is a tricky bit here to work out how much offset we want. Right now I've got one washer in there. As I put my protractor on here, of course the measurement is way out there, so it's about twice as far out. And just looking at the, let's see, 350, yeah, those are 1 degree marks on there. It looks like it's just a smidgen over one of those, which would mean about half of one of those in here. That's about a half a degree. So I think I'm going to put 2 in there to make it 1 degree offset, and then we'll see how that looks with the cowl. And I started to tighten these things up. Well, actually I started to loosen one up and the little pillar thing started to come loose. So I've decided to go to big guns and also some pliers. Okay, that certainly ought to hold it. Snug these guys up. Some people do run these motors just totally straight, but having a bit of an angle on it should help to, especially when you're taking off, keep it a bit straighter. Although the plane that I have that is the worst that way does have an offset. It still wants to pull to the left. So let's see how our nose cone fits. Yeah, looks to me like that wasn't too bad of a guess, huh? Rather calculated guess, but okay. I think we'll make that work. Okay, so we'll play around with it a bit. Looks like we're just exactly where we want to be there. And over here, well, that's the bulkhead right there. So I'd really like it to be in a little bit farther. So we will now mark where that goes. These things will drill from here anyway, but mark where they are. This one, would be nice to have it in a little bit farther. Okay, we're going to call that good. Well, I need to get myself something to spin a tiny little drill, drill bit, because I'm going to use M2 screws in this. My chuck on the battery drill is too big, but I have found that what you can do is you take a bit of tape and you wrap it around the drill bit, and even though it squishes around, it actually holds it quite well, and it's not like you have to spin it super fast anyway. So with a bit of tape on there, you can open her up and get her in there, and it holds it reasonably well. Got a little bit of wobble, but yeah, tightened down. It looks very good. And just like the Three Bears, this jeweler's screwdriver is just right. Okay, that cowl is now on there nice and secure. And by the way, I have put the little insert into that so that it sits in the middle. And that looks quite good. So we'll clear the cowl. Yep, I think that'll do the job. So we got this screwed on there to where we can take it off when we're covering. We'll probably have it off when we cover it, because various times you'll need to take this off, and of course get the ESC in there, we'll have to take it off and so forth. But yeah, that's how it's done. So I get the prop on there. This particular one, you've got a large nut that has a little bit of a shoulder that goes into the washer, and then a smaller lock nut with a little tapered bit that goes inside the big one. Of course, when you're putting the prop on, these little stops here are what locate the prop. So there she is. I got to thinking about the angle on her nose here, and just looking at it, it looked like it had quite a bit of a kink. And, I'd estimated that we might be, 1.5 degrees or something like that. But I think it's much worse, or much greater than that. I have measured a couple of my other planes before with regard to how much offset. And essentially what you do is you measure out to the tips of the blades and then the distance, and you work out the arc tangent of that value. What a simple thing to do is if you go from the tail right next to the fuselage, so you got a consistent spot on each side, given it's reasonably long. Okay, that's 985. And this one here is 965. And just to make sure that everything is as it ought to be, we'll do it this way. $985 as expected. $965. Now it'd be nice to be measuring this straight from something, but given that's on an angle back there, it's kind of hard to get the precise position for it. So anyway, we've got 20 mils difference and the distance out to this. This prop is 305 long. So if I take the 20 divided by the 305, I get 0.657. Now I compare that with my Corsair, that was 0.531. And with my other P-51, it's 0.597. So this one has got more of an offset than either of those. And if anything, I think I'd like to have it, you know, straighter, not more on an offset. So I think we're going to pull this apart. I might have to relieve it a bit to be able to get that side in farther. And by the way, what got me thinking about this is I was thinking that, you recall from when we measured up the nose on this, there was an offset to where the center was as compared to where the center of the back was. So that's already got a built-in offset, so it ought to be pretty square where it matches up to the fuselage. But the way I've got it now, it's farther back on the right side than what it is on the left side. So I think I want to modify this to where they're equal, where they attach on the fuselage, and then we'll work out what we have to do with the motor to get it lined up there. So we'll try to do that anyway. Okay, we've removed one washer on the two pylons to that side. I mentioned earlier about this particular motor having the two nuts, including a lock nut. So this is a sort of situation. This bigger nut has a little cut down bit that fits into the washer, and this other little nut has got this split sort of deal on there that allows it to push into there and sort of hopefully lock that in place. Okay, so we got a prop on there. We've got it up to the little stops here. We then get our little spinner thing on and tighten that down. I'm just putting this on to make sure everything looks good and lined up and whatever. At this stage, having an extra set of holes in this one side isn't a big deal, and that I haven't covered it yet. Not that we want lots of holes in it, but like I say, not a big deal. Okay, looking at that, it looks pretty good. Clearing. That's all clearing. I've already measured this before I put it all together, and it's a little bit less than before with the one washer. Okay, 981. 981 and 967. 981 and 967. We're roughly halfway between with two washers. You know, as compared to one washer, where the Corsair is halfway between those two things. Yeah, it's a tiny bit straighter. Still got a little bit of offset to the right. So I think I'm pretty happy with that. We're more or less straight in terms of, you know, it didn't quite come back all of the way, so it looks like it might have actually been designed to have even less than that. But I'm pretty happy with that situation. Well, we're now one step closer to getting our project finished. Hey, you know, it's coming along pretty nice. Very pleased with things. So make sure that you keep up with what we're doing. Subscribe. Yeah, over there, just click on that circle with my name on it and have a look at some of the other videos in the series as we get this beautiful bird up in the air again.